Massive lines to vote across Kentuckiana. Voters driven to the polls by that tight presidential race. Kentuckians driven by the choice to give public funds to private education. Hoosiers choosing their next governor. Hello, everybody, and thanks for joining us. I'm Doug Proffitt. From the race for the White House, Indiana governor, and Kentucky's Amendment 2, and Republicans appearing to have flipped 3 Metro Council seats. From start to finish, we have brand new coverage for you right now on the WHAS11 night team. As the votes continue to come in across the nation here, this is where we stand at the moment. As you can see, the 48% of the vote in, Donald Trump with 53% of the vote, Kamala Harris standing at 46%. Now let's take a look at Kentucky. Donald Trump actually increased his victory from his showing in 2020, and he won tonight by 26 points. In Indiana, Donald Trump also taking a major victory there, 59% over 39%, with Kamala Harris in a tighter race there, winning by 16 points. Now to the big Kentucky amendment that drove voters to the polls as well here locally. It was Amendment number 2. You resoundingly are saying no to it tonight. The ballot measure would have allowed the General Assembly to send public funds to private schools. 64% of Kentuckians voting to kill the measure. In Metro Louisville, that vote stands at about 67% to vote no at the moment. WHAS 11's Alexandra Goldberg has been following this race closely, and she's joining us now with senior photojournalist Alyssa Newton covering the story tonight. Alexandra, you've been talking with both sides. What's the current reaction?
Doug, as you can imagine, no on 2 groups are celebrating this outcome, while supporters of the amendment say the fight isn't over. According to live results, every county in Kentucky swung towards the no vote. Now looking at percentages, about 2/3 of Kentucky voters rejected Amendment 2. Kentucky voters rejected Amendment 2.
I know that our message has resonated. Our message that public funds belong to public schools.
Will Powers of the Kentucky Student Voice team says the amendment was never popular in Kentucky, and this vote proved it.
I have heard plenty of times that our public schools are not meeting the needs of our students. I have heard plenty of times that we need to do more to increase opportunity for every student. But you know what I have never heard? That the answer to that is a voucher program.
Christy Mudd, a teacher in Jefferson County, celebrating at a No on 2 watch party in New Loop.
It just really shows that we truly are supported. Our communities do support public schools, and they are advocates for public education.
Downtown at the Henry Clay Theater.
I just think what's most important is just giving the parents the right, let them choose what's best for their children. I think that's what's most important, less government and, more on the parents.
Louisville's GOP conceded.
It's a tragedy for our kids, honestly. For our parents to be able to have a choice in the schools that they go to and to be able to get the different education components that they need.
Vice Chair of the Jefferson County GOP, Charlie Bell, says the fight will continue, but the messaging has to change.
I believe that there was a fear instilled that the public school system would be bankrupt.
For now, Kentucky's constitution will remain unchanged, solidifying public dollars for public schools only. Well, it was one of the largest drivers to the polls, and now Kentuckians have answers about the future of public and private education. Live in the studio and with photojournalist Alyssa Newton, Alexandra Goldberg, WHAS 11 night team on your side. Doug.
Alexandra, thank you. Kentuckians did approve Amendment number 1 on the ballot measure you saw today. That measure cleans up language in the Kentucky Constitution and firmly prohibits non-citizens from voting in Kentucky elections. Kentucky Secretary of State Michael Adams has already testified that this was not happening in Kentucky anyway, but he felt it was important to clarify the language to prevent it from ever occurring. Well, the race for Indiana barely got started tonight, and then it was over. Indiana calling for the Republican who keeps the governor's office in the firm control of Republicans where it's been since 2005. Republican U.S. Senator Mike Braun will take over the seat after defeating Democrat Jennifer McCormick and Libertarian Donald Rainwater. Braun pulling in 54% of the vote, 76% of the precincts in for the state of Indiana. McCormick with 41% of the vote. Braun joining big names like Mitch Daniels and Mike Pence, the former governors, to run the state. The WHAS 11 night team is all over the story from Indianapolis. Travis Breeze just covered a tearful Jennifer McCormick concession speech. But first, we want to begin with the night team's Alex Dieterer and photojournalist Jessica Farley, who show us Braun's party and how they reacted to the early win tonight.
We're going to take Indiana to places we've never seen before.
An acceptance speech from the next Governor of Indiana, Mike Braun, given to a room full of Indiana GOPs in downtown Indianapolis.
Just after 7 on election night, in an early call by the Associated Press, the Indiana GOP Watch Party in Indianapolis celebrated.
The referee called it. I'm going to say in the third round.
The first-term U.S. Senator beat out challengers Jennifer McCormick, the former Republican superintendent turned Democrat, and Libertarian Donald Rainwater.
And really, I can't wait to hit the ground running, taking this state to a place where they put us with Texas, Florida, Tennessee.
Braun and his now Lieutenant Governor Micah Beckwith will continue the 20-year Republican stronghold on the state.
It's going to be much longer than 20 years. I think we're going to see, a very long time of Republican control in the State House. And part of that is because Republicans are pushing out a message that relates to Hoosiers.
I'm going to do it in an understated way. I'm going to overperform and deliver results, and you can count on that when I hit the ground running.
As for what's next for the next Indiana governor, he said tonight that he's looking forward to taking 3 days off. In Indianapolis with photojournalist Jessica Farley, Alex Dieterer, the WHAS11 night team on your side.
McCormick pulled major support from many in southern Indiana, choosing Terry Gooden of the well-known Gooden law enforcement family as her running mate, but it was not enough to swing the seat. WHAS11's Travis Breeze and photojournalist Philip Merle have the goodbye tonight.
Definitely not the result that the McCormick campaign wanted. Even though the Associated Press called this race at 7 p.m., they were holding out hope for 3 more hours until 10 o'clock. Eventually, McCormick took the stage and conceded, but still said that their party has a lot to be proud of.
We will go into tomorrow knowing we still have work to do, because you know who's depending upon that? Our kids, our families, our communities, and the great state of Indiana. It has been truly my honor to represent all of you on the campaign trail.
An emotional Jennifer McCormick taking the stage and thanking her supporters. Many hoped the former Republican turned Democrat and strong supporter of public education would do better. Still, she performed better than the last Democrat to run in 2020.
I think it sends a message that women are not happy, that it's such a close race, that I hope the Republicans don't take this as a message that they just got everything.
While the Democrats will try again in 4 years, they say the work will continue every day.
This is our fight. This is our fight, Hoosiers, and this is our time, and don't let up on the momentum. Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much. And Hoosiers, let's go.
In Indianapolis with Chief Photojournalist Philip Merle, Travis Breeze for the WHAS11 night team on your side.
And now the hot race in southern Indiana that included the Jamie Knowles scandal appearing in the TV ads. Indiana House of Representatives District incumbent 71, Wendy Danchester, keeps her seat against the challenger, Republican Scott Hawkins. This district covers Clarksville, Jeffersonville, and parts of Floyd County. Danchester attacked Hawkins in multiple campaign ads for accepting donations from former Clark County, Indiana Sheriff Jamie Knowles, who of course is now in prison for fraud. Now we want to move to the upsets of the night. Republicans have been looking to make gains into the Louisville Metro Council, and they did so tonight, picking up at least 3 seats and maintaining the ones they had. Cindy Fowler, longtime council member, lost her seat to Crystal Bass tonight, pulling in 52% of the vote. This district covering southwest Jefferson County. Again, we have 100% of the precincts reporting in this race. Meantime, longtime Metro Council member Rick Blackwell losing his seat to Jonathan Joseph by less than 100 votes. Blackwell was one of the original Metro Council members. He was first elected to the seat in 2004 and a mainstay on the council. Republican Jenny Mulvey Woolridge defeating Tyra Thomas Walker, taking over outgoing Democrat Madonna Flood's seat as well, 53% to 47% of the vote. We've got 100% of the precincts there coming in tonight. Meantime, Republican Representative Kevin Bratcher, he's leaving his seat in the State House, and he's joining Metro Council there, defeating Rashawn Crawley with 61% of the vote. Kevin Bratcher said he thought his voice could be heard and more powerful in the Metro Council. And in a tight race, as Republican Scott Reed will keep his seat on the council after being challenged by Democrat Matthew Golden in Northeast Jefferson County. The biggest development in traffic in this issue right now is right there in this district. That's the new VA hospital under construction. Now we want to take you back to early this morning. Remember it? It's been a long day, folks. Most likely you stood in line in those frustrating lines after a computer meltdown, and only Louisville stopped everything at about 10 a.m. today. State Democrats then went and filed a motion to keep the polls open until 8 o'clock, but a last-minute decision by Judge Eric Hayner stopped that motion. It didn't happen, so the polls closed at 6. WHAS 11's Ian Hardwitt and photojournalist Elijah McKenzie have been following this amazing story all day today. It's been an election like we've not seen around here, Ian, in a long time or ever before. Why did the judge say no?
Doug, Judge Hayner said nobody was denied the right to vote because none of those polling locations today actually closed, even if there were long wait times. And he said the polls could not be open past 7 p.m. because that would be unconstitutional. Now, Kentucky Secretary of State Michael Adams, through a spokesperson, tells us tonight he doesn't believe those delays were because of human error. Voters lined up out the door at polls across Jefferson County. Anitra Beatty waited 2.5 hours at the Stephen Foster Traditional Academy polling spot on 41st Street in West Louisville.
A lot of people are becoming disgruntled. Few people are leaving, and we don't need that.
She voted in the afternoon after the Jefferson County Clerk's office had resolved their issue with check-in tablets crashing. In a statement, the Kentucky Secretary of State's office said, quote, "There was no software issue in Jefferson County, and the problem appears to be that insufficient time was allowed for the e-poll books to download the names of voters who had already cast their ballots." So we asked a spokesperson for the clerk's office.
Could the machines have been fired up earlier in the day so they could have had a head start on those 113,000?
I don't think that that's something we could have done.
Republican Metro Councilman Anthony Piagentini said the 2-hour poll extension the Kentucky Democratic Party requested was too much.
By the afternoon, that had been remedied, and at the end of the day, I think people had the opportunity to come back and get their voice heard through the ballot box.
The leader of Black Lives Matter Louisville, Chanel Helms, said even more people should vote early next time to avoid Election Day issues.
People are very emotional, and I really wish we could have got the extension, but I'm kind of glad that people were really turning out and very passionate about the race.
Again, Kentucky Secretary of State Michael Adams putting human error on the delays in Jefferson County, saying he'll work with local election officials and lawmakers to make sure it never happens again. I'm live in downtown Louisville. Ian Hardwitt for the WHAS 11 night team.
All right, Ian, excellent coverage on a story that impacted so much of us tonight. Now we are joined by the best election analysts on the air in Louisville. Been with us on election night before, Republican Iris Wilbur-Glick of IW Strategies and Democrat David Tandy of the Denton's Law Firm and former Metro Council president. So we had appears Donald Trump increased his percentage of victory in Kentucky compared to 2020. Iris, your thoughts on that?
Yes. However, when you look at Jefferson County, the performance-wise, kind of middle of the road. Overall voter participation in the presidential race increased from 16, but less than 20. And same thing goes with sort of the vote breakdown. Harris did not perform as well as Biden, performed a little bit better than Clinton, and Trump, sort of those numbers reflected the same. Did better than 16, but not as well as 20.
David, let's pick up on what could be a victory for Democrats. Amendment number 2. You had Governor Andy Beshear squarely the spokesperson for defeating Amendment number 2, which has happened tonight.
Yeah, so you could make the argument that Amendment 2 was just an overreach on the part of those who were supporting it, put it on the ballot. The focus a lot of times that when you have these constitutional amendments is on Jefferson County solely, and it fails to recognize that in the more rural counties of Kentucky, the school system is one of the larger employers in that community. So the idea of trying to take public dollars away from those public institutions, put it in the hand of private institutions that nobody knows where they're going to go or where they're going to be located, it's not a winning strategy.
The other fascinating development to me is this Metro Council development. Jefferson County GOP have really targeted these 3 races. I have the former Metro Council president sitting right here. You go back to the early days of the council. Give me your thoughts now on the Republicans increasing their seats. They don't have the majority, but they're increasing their seats.
It's essentially a reset to where we started back in 2002.
South End did it for them.
Well, yeah, South End did it. Remember in 2002, we were basically, it was a 15-11, 15-11 split. To where then if you had 3 Democrats that decided to join the Republican Party, they would make the Republicans the majority, and so there was a need there to make sure that you're working on both sides to try to make something happen. And so I think it's going back to where we were again. The thing about with Metro Council and Metro government just in general is you start to see things they go in circles, in cycles, and where the pendulums would swing one way and then it swings back another.
Let me ask Iris, your thoughts on this development.
So first of all, Louisville Republicans had great candidates this time around, despite being sort of at a disadvantage dollar-wise, worked extremely hard. And I think local issues matter, particularly down ballot races. And I think these candidates made the case for public safety and economic opportunities, for each of their districts. And so, yeah, not surprised to see them prevail, but I'm so glad to see that hard work paid off.
You've been with us all day, and you're going to be back with us tomorrow at 5:30. I want to wrap up. Do you think Donald Trump's going to be the president of the United States? And when will we know who will be the president of the United States? It's going to be tomorrow, Thursday, Friday? Iris, start with you.
Hard to say right now. I mean, none of the 7 states that we're tracking right now have been able to produce real returns. So I think it's going to be a bit. Right now, I know President Trump, I think, has the edge on the popular vote. But it's just too early to tell. We're not going to turn to pumpkins tonight, so we'll continue the discussion going into tomorrow.
David?
I would tell everybody out there, as one who our firm, we represent a lot of bourbon and wine and other spirit makers out there. For the brewers out there, find your favorite adult beverage of choice, settle in, relax. It'll be a minute for us to figure out who won these races.
Sounds like something you both can agree on there tonight. All right, thank you both. We'll see you again tomorrow. Who knows? We have a lot more to talk about.